Hello there, Scorpio. Thank you so much for stopping by today. We are going to do a deep dive. This is something a little different than what I've ever done before, except for Taurus up until now. But this is my first cycle of doing these types of readings. And so originally my idea was to put down 5 cards that would give us topics out of the Lenormand deck, and which we're using today, I believe, is the Fairy Lenormand. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. And then to expand on the ideas that come up out of the Lenormand, we're going to use the Hush Tarot. And to look for advice around whatever we expand on, we're going to use the Light Seers Tarot. So the topics that we're talking about are going to be just to kind of give us an idea of what we're actually looking at. Then we'll expand on that, and then we'll look at the next topic. My original idea was that this would be 5 topics that we could look at as we go through the 28-day cycle. However, so far Spirit has put most of these topics together and wrapped them all into one big conglomeration where we just really dive deep. So that may be what happens now. That's kind of what I'm expecting, because that's what the track record has been so far. And when you work with Sacred Spirit, you kind of follow the lead there. So that looks like what we're probably going to be doing. Also, I am recording this the day before the Scorpio moon. This is a day of purge. As Scorpios, we are going to be feeling this a lot. I can tell you I am feeling pretty emotional today as well. So, and moons generally impact us there's our first card, first topic. Moons generally impact us all the way up and from like 2.5 days before it happens until 2.5 days after. So we probably are feeling this by the time this comes out. This is coming out on the day of the Scorpio moon. So what do we have here? We have the whip. The whip can be repetitive conversations. It can be an issue that just seems to keep going and going and going. Some kind of disagreement that, that we'd never really get settled. This can be an internal disagreement, or this can be a disagreement with somebody else. This can be things being kind of rough. We'll see what this has to do with. This can also indicate, if we're going a little bit less PG, this could indicate rougher bedroom practices, let's say. That's not, there's a lot of varieties of things that it could actually indicate. So we're not going to automatically go there, but it is a possibility. We'll see what shows up as we expand that topic. Second topic coming out for us is the bouquet. This is a nice card usually. I like it. It talks about a visit or a gift. Sometimes it talks about another female other than the main character female. So if this turns out to be another female, this is not going to be about yourself. This will be a female in your life. Boopity doo doo. All right, next topic that shows up here. Oh, the book. Now, the book can talk about the secret things, the esoteric things. It can also talk about learning, about study. What are we learning? What are we studying? What kind of secrets are we keeping? All of that good stuff. For us who are Scorpio, we usually have a pretty strong intuition. It's not that uncommon for us to know some things that we're not just blabbing to everybody about. I don't know. Do we really call those things secrets? Or do we call those things unnecessary information to be shared? All right, let's look at our fourth topic. We have the stork. The stork usually talks about upgrades or changes, something that's flexible, that's being modified. It has more of a positive vibe to it than some of the other cards, which a lot of them are kind of neutral or maybe lean a little bit more towards negative. The stork usually is some kind of change that is an upgrade. At least in my experience, it has been. Now, fifth topic that we're going to look at has to do with Topic of the heart, emotions, somebody who's important to us. Okay. Now, I have seen the heart come up to indicate family members. And so this can be a family member or maybe even a tribe member, or this can be, a romantic interest or a romantic partner. We'll just see as we go through and as we clarify each of these. So it looks like we've got quite a few things on the table. They'll probably end up tying all together, but, they may not. We should not assume anything. Let's see where this goes. Let's see where this goes. All right. So as I'm focusing in on this first card, I'm hearing conflict. So this is going to be what we're focused on. Let's see what we can find out about this conflict that is showing up. But that's going to be our topic here. So some kind of conflict coming up. Maybe even around this moon. Of course, we've got emotions running high, Scorpios. It is a moon that talks about purging. This is a big purge for us. So let's see what we have. Oh, yeah. This goes right along with the conflict idea. We've got, first of all, we have the devil showing up here, magician in reverse, page of cups in reverse. So there's something going on here. When we've got the devil coming up, there's something where we have a fear that is got us running scared. It's got us making decisions that are probably not the most healthy decisions for ourselves. With the magician, this talks about this fear having us make these decisions is got us in a situation where we're doing everything that we think we need to do to manifest something into our lives, but we find ourselves sort of beating our heads against the wall, not actually manifesting that thing. And with the page of cups coming up in reverse, what we're not manifesting is we're not manifesting letting somebody know how important they are to us. So we are not letting on to somebody how important they are to us. So we've got some kind of conflict or debate. And with this conflict or debate, we're feeling like with this fear thing, we're feeling like we can't say, well, you're really important to me. I would really like to work this out. We're not really feeling like we can say that. We might want to say it. We don't know how to do that with that magician in reverse. So when the magician's in reverse like that, we want to ask Sacred Spirit to help us. That's how that works. When the magician's in reverse, we haven't got Spirit involved in the situation, and we want to get Spirit involved, whether that's through ritual, through prayer, however you get Spirit involved in your situations in your life and ask for help, you want to do that. Okay? That's the first thing that we have here. And that's advice just because that's always the advice with the magician in reverse. It always holds true. At least I've never seen a time when it does not. Now let's look at what Spirit's going to say as best advice or heads up around this situation. We may be feeling like we can't say this. Maybe we are saying this, but we feel like the other person can't hear it. See how this guy, this little fairy, has the fingers in the ears? I can't hear what you're saying. Remember being a little kid? So we may feel like this other person just can't hear us when we say that, and that could be what's frustrating. And it could be making us feel a little bit afraid. Like, what happens if this continues this way? All right. Now, best advice or heads up here. Okay, so definitely this conflict has something to do with somebody who, maybe fire sign, maybe Sagittarius, Leo, or what's our other fire sign? Aries. Maybe. Doesn't have to be, though. I don't really like to go with signs because I would rather go more with personalities. We all have a little bit of each court card in our personalities at some point in our lives. And so with this King of Wands coming up in reverse, this is telling me I think the toxicity or the fear is coming from the idea that we've got a King of Wands who is not acting like their normal self. They're acting, they're not outgoing. They're kind of introverting. They're not outgoing and they're not being their normal, positive self. And so this has us a little afraid. This may be the person that, they can't hear us saying, hey, I think you're a wonderful person. I think you're amazing, or whatever. The Nine of Swords really talks about the idea that this person being in this state has us a little bit stressed out, has us a lot stressed out with the Nine of Swords. But the key with the Nine of Swords, too, is always that we don't have control over everything. And the only reason we're stressed out is because we think we have control. And so we're kind of taking the blame for something we really can't impact. We don't control other people's feelings as much as we would like to, and as much as we've been taught that we do. In reality, we really don't. Happiness is an inside job. And so we're feeling really stressed out here about how this person is feeling. And with the Four of Cups coming up in reverse, this says that the advice here is to start looking for the silver lining, start looking for the bright side. Spirit's acknowledging, yes, this is disappointing. For real, it is 100%. But it's time to start looking at the silver lining, or at the bright side. Look at the opportunities that come up in spite of the disappointment, and how can we move forward. That's the heads up and advice there. And this goes along really with that whole Scorpio moon thing. All the emotions, man. All the emotions. All right, now let's take a peek at our next topic, which is the bouquet. Let's see what the bouquet is all about this time around. Tell me about this bouquet. What is this actually, please? All right, here we go. Okay. We have a Sun card. We have a Six of Pentacles in reverse. And we have a Three of Pentacles right side up. Now, this is really interesting. I'm not sure that I like what I've got expanding this. The Sun card does talk about happiness. It talks about clarity, talks about truth, talks about warmth. So I really like this. This could be the female who has some of these qualities. This could be a warm visit. I think this is more of a visit, though. And the visit does not have to be with a female, but this is more of a visit, I think. And with the Six of Pentacles, this is talking about, I think what's going on here, sometimes this is a gift too. I think what's going on here is we're giving somebody the gift actually of our time, our energy, our effort, our warmth, our nurturing, our clarity. We are giving this to somebody. And with the Six of Pentacles in reverse, this is not in an even measure. Like, this is not a reciprocal situation. So we're giving more than what we're receiving back with this. And with the Three of Pentacles, this talks about collaborating with this other person. So we're collaborating with this other person, even though it's not really a reciprocal situation. I think we're doing this totally willingly. And this may be because we think that this is going to stop the dispute. If we give more, will this stop the dispute? We're water signs. Water signs are very empathic. We pick up on other people's feelings. We like to help. We like to heal. And a lot of times, my fellow Scorpios, we take on projects. Rather than friends, rather than partners, we take on projects. This is kind of looking to me like, even though it has kind of happy vibes, at least temporarily, I think we're taking on a project here. And you guys know there's only so long that taking on a project is going to feel like a good thing. If you've been around this zone a few times. And look at that Sun here in reverse. This is really interesting. With the Page of Swords, I think what we're sharing here is some information. We're sharing something that has intellectual qualities. So we may be sharing information, we may be sharing a book, we may be having a conversation where we are, sharing information via conversation. But we're sharing some ideas with this other person. That is what we're doing, to actually give them the clarity and the warmth and the nurturing. With this Nine of Cups coming up in reverse, this says that we're feeling kind of unsatisfied with this situation. Of course, we had that Six of Pentacles already that talks about the idea that we're giving more than what we're getting back. So, of course, we're feeling a little bit unsatisfied and unfulfilled here. And with the Sun card in reverse, this talks about that there's some kind of collaboration that comes up that actually we're enjoying. We're doing something with whoever this other person is, and we're actually enjoying that time together. It's working out well. It's not like it's rocky or rough. This is good time together for this collaboration. So it's interesting because we've really got a mixed bag here. We're sharing something. It's definitely not really reciprocal, but we're able to spend time collaborating with this other person, and that is enjoyable. And so this is kind of a rocky patch. It ends well for this section. I don't know that we ever really got our dispute resolved, but it looks like we're trying to kind of work around that elephant in the room, maybe even. We're trying to give enough that that dispute just kind of becomes history, is what I feel like. Now let's look at our third topic, which is the book. This talks about the secret things, the things that we know and we don't share with the world, or something that we're learning. Could be that as well. Let's take a peek and see how this expands out when we zoom in on it. Boo-ba-da-doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. All right. So this is interesting because really what's happening, that is our secret that we're not necessarily talking about, or that thing that we realize we know, but we're not really talking about it, is this idea that we find ourselves deciding that even after having that positive experience with this other person, we find ourselves deciding that we're in a situation that is chaotic and dramatic, and we would rather be in a situation that is much more calm. And so we are just trying to find our peace. We may be meditating during this to try to figure out what is actually going to bring us peace in this situation. We have the Eight of Cups showing up here, which basically, it's interesting because this is also a card of movement. We could be actually traveling to try and be objective about this and figure out what is going to bring us peace. The Eight of Cups does say, I'm stepping back, I'm walking away from this situation because it's making me feel exhausted or depleted. Okay? So this tells me that even though we had this good experience with this person over here, it didn't stay good. There are some other things happening now that makes it feel dramatic and chaotic to us. And so I think secretly we're just trying to figure out, like we're just trying to get our head on straight, really, with the Eight of Cups. And we're finding this to be a lot. This has taken up too much bandwidth for us. And so we're kind of walking away. We're getting some distance between us and any drama or chaos because we're just not down with it. We don't want any mixed messages. We don't want to be trying to second guess and figure things out. We want things to be clear. And apparently things are not clear. Two of Pentacles basically says we've got a lot on our plates. And so if we have a lot on our plates and life is hectic, this is kind of the most logical thing to drop because this is not really helping our energy any. So we're letting go of this because we can't maintain everything. We don't have time for everything. So this just needs to go. And I don't think we're saying that to anybody. I think we're just taking that action. With that book being there, this is what we're doing that's not being broadcast to the whole world here. Okay. Now, let's look at best advice or heads up around this situation. What do we need to know here? Look at that. Six of Swords in reverse. Six of Pentacles in reverse. We had that on the last topic, just in the other deck. And the Chariot in reverse. Now, this is really interesting. For me, a Six of Swords in reverse talks about a lifestyle change. It's wild that it comes up right on top of our Six of Swords right side up. When it's in reverse, for me, it talks about a lifestyle change that gives us a chance to have a better lifestyle or possibly even live longer, hopefully. I think this idea of going away from the drama and the chaos and finding something peaceful is actually creating a lifestyle change for us, because the drama, the confusion from before, we're not down with that. We're not down with that. We don't see it as healthy. It's not helping us in any way. And so this says this is a lifestyle change. As we're moving into this peace, this is not just for a couple of days. This is something that we are consciously setting up for ourselves so that we can stay in this peaceful place moving forward. Now, Six of Pentacles coming up right over this Eight of Cups basically is saying, it's explaining we're walking away because already, again, we're feeling like things are not reciprocal. Things are not even. Things are not even. And I think before, with this debate or this, whatever this was that came up on this first conflict that came up on that first topic, I think before we let somebody know, look, this isn't working for me. I don't know that we're saying that now. We're definitely not saying that with the book here. I think in our mind, we're like, you know what? We've had this discussion before. What's the point in rehashing it? You can't convince somebody to treat you correctly, to come to correct, and to have a reciprocal relationship. If they want to continue to suck that energy and not give an equal amount of energy back, and you've already had the conversation, I think we're just slipping away because we feel like, what's the point in talking about this again? Okay. Now, we have the Chariot coming up here in reverse. This says to me that where I was thinking we may even be traveling for this, this basically says this is not about travel. It's not about moving. It's not about being in a different place. We are staying put geographically, but we are, even as we are walking away from that situation, we're not actually changing our literal location. We're not taking a trip. We're not going for a drive. We're not moving house. But we are definitely disengaging. We are definitely disengaging. And it's a lifestyle change. This is not a temporary thing. And that's happening because it's already back to not being reciprocal again, even after we had a little bit of good time there for a minute. Oof, this looks rough, guys. This is one of those put on your safety belt and your hard hat thing. That's what this is. It looks like we're making some solid decisions here with this situation. We're giving somebody a chance and we're letting them see how they work with it. But they can only maintain for so long, it looks like. Now, we're looking at the Stork. This is a flexibility. This is an upgrade. This is some kind of change that is an upgrade. Sometimes it's a baby coming in. That's obviously not going to apply for everybody. I know that won't apply for me, but maybe for some of my Scorpio peeps it might apply. Let's see how this breaks down when we open it up with the tarot. Boop-a-da-doo-doo-doo-doo. King of Cups, 10 of Wands in reverse, and the 8 of Wands. I feel like I need to clarify that 10 of Wands in reverse. We need to walk through this and see. So my King of Cups is nice, and it kind of ties in with this heart. This is going to be somebody who has a lot of feelings towards us. Can be a man or a female, doesn't matter, when we're working with the tarot. But this is going to be somebody who has a lot of feelings towards us. Now, these are not fresh feelings, new feelings. This is not new relationship energy. This is a little bit more of mature feelings. These are feelings that come about after you've gotten to know somebody better. You know, maybe you know some of their bad habits, or if they snore too loud, or, you know, if they suck on their teeth while they're watching TV, or whatever, you know. I'm just giving silly examples here. I don't know anybody who does that, actually. But anyway, this is somebody who, you know, they've kind of seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of you, and they still have deep feelings for you. So this could be a dad, it could be a mom, could be an aunt, an uncle. You know, it could be a romantic interest or a romantic partner. If it's a romantic interest, this is going to be somebody who's known you longer. You know, this is not going to be the fresh on the scene person. And this is somebody expressing their feelings towards you more by actions than by words with that King of Cups, because kings are building on what's already been established. So this person is probably not saying, "Oh, I love you so much." They're probably doing something to try and show that, so that you can see that how they feel about you. Now, with this 10 of Wands, this person may be letting go of some kind of responsibility that they've been carrying in their lives. And remember, this moon is kind of a purging for everybody, not just for us. But they may be letting go of some busy work or some things that really weren't that important that they did all the time, to actually come through with whatever this action is here. And there's definitely a lot more communication happening when we see this stork show up, when we see this upgrade come in. So it looks like there's something going on here where somebody is getting rid of something to take some action and to communicate with us in a way that prioritizes us at a higher level than we were prioritized before. Maybe not on the top of the totem pole, but definitely not, you know, below the totem pole anymore. All right, let's see. Best advice or heads up around this situation. Let's take a peek. Oh, now we've got our King of Wands, and he's right side up this time, right over the King of Cups. So we've got water signs or fire signs, maybe somebody with strong water and fire in their chart. Water signs are going to be Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces. Fire signs are going to be Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. But now we see our person, instead of being all bummed out, now we see our person being more outgoing, more upbeat, more positive. we've got a Queen of Wands coming up in reverse, which is the match to the King of Wands. And obviously we're a Queen of Cups, which would be a match to the King of Cups, just because of our sign. This Queen of Wands is basically, I think we're a little bit skeptical. I think we're a little skeptical here. It feels to me like this person has already, we've had some good times with them, and then things got rocky, and now this person is coming back trying to show us that they're trying to come to us in some kind of correct way, that doesn't make us feel bad, and we're just like, yeah, we'll see. This is kind of turning into a cycle, and I'm not so sure that I like this cycle. This is kind of what I think is going on here with us, because we catch those things, we observe those things. We're no stranger to the cycles, that's for sure. And once you get a few times around the sun, then you start not really being down with the cycles as much anymore. Remember, we are ready, set as a lifestyle change. Let's get away from the drama and the chaos. If this person is bringing us cycles, then that's some drama and some chaos. So we're kind of skeptical here with this, and I don't think that this person is missing that. I don't know that we're necessarily holding back. As the Queen of Wands in reverse, we're probably not. And then with our Seven of Wands, even though there's communication here, I think we still are keeping some boundaries. Maybe we're not keeping the same boundaries that we had before when we walked away, but we're definitely not completely opening up just yet. We are keeping some boundaries because we're not open to the idea of letting this cycle just keep repeating over and over again. It kind of feels to me like our King of Wands, King of Cup person may have been kind of taking us for granted and thought that then they could kind of let things slide in the relationship, whether this is a father, a significant other, romantic interest, cousin, whatever, friend, thought that they could let things slide in the relationship, and then came back and tried to make a big show. Well, we're expecting though. I think we're like, yeah, well, we'll see if you let things slide here and again in a week or two. Let's see what happens. That's what I'm seeing there. I think we're being skeptical. We're keeping up boundaries. We're like, you know what? You done hurt my heart once, or twice, or 3 times, or however many times it's been. I don't know that I'm opening up the door for that again. So while we're still talking to them, I don't think we're shutting them out. I think we would like to be able to open the door to them again, probably. Otherwise, we would have shut them out. Because let's face it, we're Scorpio. When we're done with somebody, you know it, we're done. I don't see that on these. We haven't totally cut this person off. All right. Now let's look at the heart. So we are directly addressing love at this point. Whether that's romantic love or otherwise remains to be seen, but let's see more about this. Let's see more about this. What do we have going on here? This little couple is so cute, just little head to head, sitting next to each other. They're kind of adorable, aren't they? All right, let's see how this expands out. 3 of Cups in reverse. 6 of Swords in reverse again. And the World. Also in reverse. Okay, so I think this person over here that was trying to show how much they care about us, and we kind of had hands up like, no, you talk to the hand, buddy. I think that things are kind of escalating here. And I think that as this person is sort of escalating things, we're a little bit annoyed by this. 3 of Cups, we're like, I think that this person is expecting that, okay, I've made some changes and I want you to see these changes right now. And we're kind of holding out. We're saying, let's see what happens if a little bit more time passes. And the fact that this person is impatient to step it up, when we're not sure about them yet, we're still looking at them like, well, you know what? I'm not sure you don't have a time bomb strapped around your belly. Let's just let some time go by and see. So I think we're a little bit annoyed by their wanting to step things up quickly now. We do have this lifestyle change, this going into this, this lifestyle change that we had earlier, going into the drama, away from the chaos. We're maintaining that. And that is very much on our minds, that we don't want to go back into a cycle where we feel cray-cray. So we are just trying to maintain that lifestyle change and trying to keep things calm and cool. World card here says, when it's in reverse, it says that even though we're not exactly thrilled about how quickly this other person wants to move forward now, it's not over. This says it's not over. We're not ending things. We may even be thinking that we want to, but we're having trouble just tucking in all the strings and making sure that it's done correctly. And so this is not over, even if we are feeling annoyed at this person for how fast they want to move. And even if we are trying to maintain our peace and our calm, this whole situation with love is not over. Whether this is platonic love or romantic love or whatever. Let's see what our best advice or heads up is here. If this isn't over and we're putting up those vibes, then the person we're dealing with is pretty stubborn. And maybe even pretty fearless. They may feel like they may understand that we're putting up walls. And they may feel like, you know what, just give me enough time and I will break those walls down. Or I will dissolve them. Or whatever it takes. That may be what's going on here. This person is definitely stubborn about this situation. Because, guys, we can be pretty intimidating. And if we're coming off like this, we're intimidating this other person. I'm actually thinking of the song by Sheryl Crow, Strong Enough. All right, now let's look at best advice or heads up around this. Look at this. 3 of Cups, 3 of Cups. We are absolutely annoyed. We are absolutely annoyed by how quickly this person wants to go from, okay, I've made these changes. Now let's give me credit for making those changes. Well, we're waiting to see if you're going to stick with those changes. So we're really annoyed with how fast this person wants to go forward. And this person may be annoyed with us too for being annoyed at them for wanting to move faster. They may be annoyed at how we want to move slower and just see how things pan out. Now we have the Page of Wands in reverse. And this is right over the 6 of Swords in reverse. This could very easily be us saying, you know what? I know you've said and you're trying to show that you're doing better, but I'm not sure that I buy in. I need some more time. The Page of Wands can be very fast moving, but when they're in reverse, no, they have no energy to move fast. They have absolutely no energy to move fast. And then we have our 4 of Cups coming up here. This is telling me that we are kind of disappointed with how things are going down here. We may be feeling the 4 of Cups is kind of a pity party. I always tell people we don't want to be in pity party energy. It doesn't get us anywhere. So obviously, same rules still apply here. But there is something to be kind of disappointed about here. And I think we're having a hard time looking at the silver lining. Even though this thing isn't over and this person is being stubborn, I think we're feeling kind of disappointed that they want to go so fast. And I think it's putting us in a situation where we feel like we have to make a decision that we're not really ready to make. We really want to see how things are going to pan out first before we make a decision. And I think we're kind of feeling sorry for ourselves here. And I'm not all about us feeling sorry for ourselves. What should we be doing instead of having this pity party? What would your best advice be for us? Instead of having this pity party, what should we be doing? So in this case, the sun is saying it's time to be really honest with this other person. These are the cards that we have about the hurt that came before. We have to be kind of open about this. And so if this is coming up as what we should be doing instead of a pity party, this is that the pity party, we're kind of repressing that. We haven't shared it. Maybe we don't want to hurt this other person's feelings, or we're somehow looking out for them, even though they hurt our heart. This says instead of the pity party, we would be better off to let this person know, hey, what you did before really, really hurt. And I don't want to be hurt like that again. So I'm going to take my time. And the Fool basically says, carry on following your intuition with this leap of faith. So if you need to take your time, or if we need to take our time and not allow ourselves to be rushed into something, then we should basically take a stand for it. Because if we don't, with this pity party, this says that we allow this other person to push us forward before we're ready to go. Well, that's a surefire recipe for disaster. We already know that, So instead of doing the pity party, our advice here is just be really super open and honest with this person and let them know, hey, I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm not at that place where I can totally trust you right now. I have to see some time go by and see if you're going to be loyal and if you're going to stay on a decent track and keep up, with keeping this in something reciprocal before I can decide if I want to move forward or not. And I think it's fair to even say, I'm worried that if I actually commit to moving forward with you, that you'll go back to taking me for granted, and then I'll be heartbroken all over again. So I think it's fair even to say that. It's fair to put this person on notice and let them know this is how it is. And you're going to have to do some proving before I can trust you to move beyond whatever this state is that we're letting them come back to, whatever this upgrade is that they did. We have to see that last a little while. We can't think that that's just going to be disappearing like water down the sink drain. And they're going to have to know that if this is going to have any kind of shot. Because if we let them push us into something where the trust isn't there and we're not ready yet, we're going to sabotage that stuff straight to hell. Right there. Excuse my language, but that's where that would go. All right, so looks like an interesting next 4 weeks. Let's try to remember to take our advice. Just be straight up. Be honest with this person. This looks like this is something that could have some potential for the future, but it's got to be handled correctly for the potential to be something that we can actually live up to. So we want to really handle this correctly. We don't want to just go running into something and starting something when we're really not sure how we feel about that person and how their interactions with us normally go. All right. So that's what I've got for us Scorpios. I hope you guys have a great next 28 days. I'm sure there are other things going on in our lives that will be good. Besides this, maybe I think Spirit is bringing up things that we need the most advice on in these things. And this is probably it. All right, guys. Everybody have a fantastic 28 days. And I will see you all on the next video. Peace out.